Okay, I'm back. So let me continue with where I was. When Julia arrives after the show, she brings three thick books with her, a pencil, and something she calls magic markers. Here, Ivan, she says, and she slides two magic markers and a piece of paper into my domain. I like the sundown colors, purple and red, but I don't feel like coloring. I'm worried about Stella. All evening she's been quiet and hasn't eaten a bit of her dinner. Julia follows my gaze. Where is Stella, anyways? She says, and she goes to Stella's gate. Ruby extends her trunk and Julia pats it. Hi, baby. Is Stella all right? Stella's lying in a pile of dirty hay. Her breath is ragged. Dad, Julia says, could you come here a minute? Now, when they say her breath is ragged, do you think that means she's breathing healthy in a normal way? Or do you think there's something wrong with Stella? Do you think she's okay, Dad? Julie asks. Look at the way she's breathing. Can we call Mac? I think there's something really wrong. He must know about her, George says. He always knows, but a vet costs money. Please call him Dad, says Julia. Her eyes are wet. George gazes at Stella. He puts his hands on his hip and he sighs. He calls Mac. I can't hear all of his words, but I can see George's lips tighten into a grim line. Gorilla expressions and human expressions are a lot alike. Mac says the vet's coming in the morning if Stella's not any better, he tells Julia. He says he's not going to let her die or anything, not after all the money he's put into her. George strokes Julia's hair. She'll be all right. She's a tough old girl. Julia sits by Stella's domain until it's time to go home. She doesn't do her homework, and she doesn't even draw. My domain gleams with moonlight when I awake to the sound of Stella's calls. Ivan, Ivan, she says. I'm here, Stella. I sit up abruptly, and Bob topples off my stomach. I run to the window. I can see Ruby next to Stella, sleeping soundly. Ivan, I want you to promise me something, says Stella. Anything, I say. I've never asked for a promise before because promises are forever, and forever is an unusually long time, especially when you're in a cage. Domain, I correct. Domain, she agrees. I straighten to my full height. I promise, Stella. I promise. But you haven't even heard what I'm going to ask you yet. I know what you're going to ask me. I promise anyways, whatever it is. Stella doesn't say anything for a long time. Never mind, I don't know what I was thinking. Ruby stirs, her trunk moves as if she's reaching for something that isn't there. When I say the words, they surprise me. You want me to take care of Ruby, don't you? Stella nods, a small gesture that makes her wince. If she could have a life that's different from mine. She needs a safe place, Ivan. Not here, not in a cage. Not here, I said. It would be easier to promise to stop eating, to stop breathing, to stop being a gorilla. But I say, I promise, Stella. I promise it on my word as a silverback. Before Mac, before Bob, even before Ruby, I know Stella's gone. I know it by the way you know the summer's over and winter's on its way. I just know. Stella once teased me that elephants are superior because they feel more joy and grief than apes. You gorillas' hearts are made of ice, Ivan, she said. Ours are made of fire. Right now I would give all the yogurt raisins in all the world for a heart made of ice so I couldn't feel this pain. Bob heard from a rat, a reliable source, that Stella was gone. All day I try to comfort Ruby, but what can I say? That Stella had a good and happy life? That she lived as she was meant to live? That she died with those who loved her most? At least the last is true. We did love her most. Julia cries all evening while her father sweeps and mops and dusts and cleans. When George sees Mac, he runs into him. I can only hear a few of the words. Vet. We should have. Wrong. Mac shrugs. His shoulders droop. He leaves without a word. When George wipes the fingerprints off my glass, his cheeks are wet. He doesn't even look into my eyes. When all the humans have left, I asked Bob to check on Ruby. How is she? I asked. She was shivering, said Bob. I tried to cover her with hay. I told her not to worry because you were going to save her. You told her that? I glared at him. You promised Stella. I wanted to make the kid feel better. I shouldn't have made that promise, Bob. I just wanted... I pointed to Stella's domain, and for a moment it seemed like I had forgotten how to breathe. I wanted to make Stella happy, I guess, but I can't save Ruby. I can't even save myself. I flopped onto my back. The cement is always cold, but tonight it hurts. Bob leaps onto my belly. You're the one and only Ivan, the mighty silverback. He licks my chin, and he's not even checking for leftovers. Say it, said Bob. I look away. Say it, Ivan. I don't answer, so Bob licks my nose until I can't stand it any longer. I am the one and only Ivan, I mutter. And don't you ever forget it, he said. When I gaze at the food court light in the sky, the moon Stella loved is shrouded in clouds. So what do you think is going to happen now? Stella's gone. What's going to happen to Ruby? And do you think Ivan will ever be able to keep his promise? How could he? What could he do? What do you think will happen? Talk to you tomorrow.